And we're back. I'm Professor Scott Plum with the Minnesota Sales Institute with Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Are you a vendor, a problem solver, a business resource, or a strategic resource? And what does each of these descriptions mean to us as sales professionals? Our book club is starting Beyond Selling Value, which discusses these selling levels. Fortunately, we have one of the co-authors, Dan Kosch, with us to tell us about these descriptions and how we can improve our own selling skills. So grab a notepad and your favorite beverage as we discuss Beyond Selling Value on episode 428 of the Get in the Door podcast. Well, we're getting started on a new book for our book club, Beyond Selling Value by Mark Shanka and Dan Kosch. And we are very excited to welcome Dan to join us as we kick off this exciting new book. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, great to be with you. Thank you.
So we got a few questions for you, Dan, and I'll start off. Could you just tell us a little bit about your journey in sales, where you got started, and a little bit about what you're doing now?
Well, first, thank you, Bill and Scott, for reviewing the book Beyond Selling Value and having me on your podcast. I certainly appreciate it, and I've been looking forward to being with you. So I started my sales career with IBM as a national sales rep, then moved into sales management and left IBM at about after 10 years. And I had met Mark Shanka at IBM. We became good friends, actually got our MBAs together at the University of Minnesota. And he had left IBM earlier than I did and eventually ended up at an organization called RCP, which was a sales coaching company. I ended up joining him there in 92, and he and I took over the RCP business. We renamed it Impacts in 97, which is the name of the company now that I'm a part of and Mark is a part of. So we're a sales performance improvement company that does sales training, coaching, and consulting. And our focus these days is in helping companies, with their selling, with their account management, channel management, sales leadership, really helping them hopefully drive, business results. We work with small, mid-sized, large companies from many different industries, chemicals, banking, pharma, you name it, all over the world.
Why did you decide you wanted to basically coach salespeople rather than sell yourself as much?
Well, I tell you, Mark and I both had an interest in developing people, right? I had been in management at IBM. I really enjoyed developing people. And so both of us ended up having a passion for that, and also had some interest in speaking. I had done speaking over my career, and it was a great combination to be able to take experience I'd had in selling and sales management and some good background with IBM and put it to use in helping develop others and coaching others in that profession.
Great. Yeah. Well, I know both Scott and I have done it for a number of years, and it is quite rewarding to be able to do that. Now, you and Mark decided to write a book about what you had discovered about the sales process. But obviously, a book requires a problem. What were some of the problems that you discovered that said to you, we want to sit down and write a book and change the process?
Well, it's interesting, right? Some people write books and form a business. We had the business first, RCP and then Impacts, before the book. And so the book came out of our work with clients around sales process. We've been training clients on what we generically call Impacts process, which is what we write about in Beyond Selling Value. And the problem that we were seeing is that salespeople more and more were being commoditized, right? They were being caught in that, as we call, vendor trap, especially if they were individuals or companies trying to sell value. And so consultative selling, from our perspective, was primarily at the time understanding a prospect or customer's needs and selling to those needs. But we felt if that's all you do, we're either going to be just a vendor, or we might get as high as a problem solver, right, on that customer perception of value pyramid we talked about in chapter 1, and still get commoditized with the emphasis on price. So we felt salespeople had, that consultative selling, up their game to include some different things, right? Change their mindset that they're selling real business solutions to people who can buy value, right? A broader level of research than just what a company needs, needing to think not just about product fit, and how our solutions fit a need, but rather business fit, selling to higher levels, changing how we present to prospects and customers. So it's that experience that we had been having, right, that said, hey, let's write a book and get the message out to even more people than just our clients.
Besides that, what are some of the things that readers should be looking for as they go through the book?
In the book, Scott and Bill, we lay out a process, an executable, customer-facing process. So it's not just theory, and it's really tactics and tools to actually help us sell value in the area that we're competing in these days. And so after, get through setting the stage regarding the environment and the challenges salespeople face in chapter 1, we then walk through the process. First, an overview of the process, RCP, in chapter 2, and then each of the 3 areas, research, communication, and presentation. And we dive into each area, research, data research, how can we get the public perspective that we can read that's out there, then organizing our research and thinking about what we all want to learn beyond just what they need. And that's the 5 research elements. The idea of developing and leveraging coaches, those individuals that want us to win and win if we win. And then the important sales call that we call the research meeting, which is that type of sales call where we apply that 95-5 rule, listen 95% of the time, talk 5, where we're really...
Wait a minute, you're talking salespeople should only talk 5% of the time? I thought salespeople were good talkers. That's what they do well.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting, right? That's what, if you'd ask someone at a party, right, what makes a good salesperson, the average person that maybe doesn't know sales but thinks they might is, hey, yeah, they love to talk. But we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so now certainly there are different elements of a sales cycle where we might talk more, right? But the research meeting, which we talk about in the research part of the book, is where we're focused on asking great questions and listening and really understanding and getting the context of the situation so that when we do have the chance to present, right, we're in a better position to do that in terms of what we've learned. And so that's where that 95-5 rule comes in, is in the research piece. We then lay out, in the communication part of the book, strategies and tactics for gaining access to real decision makers. And then also strategies. That's the big
part. Let's not gloss over that, Dan. I think it's so important. And I think that's one of the most difficult things for salespeople to do, is to move from their comfort level of who they're talking to up to the real decision makers. What are some of the things that we're going to be looking for to get that move made?
Yeah, I agree with you, by the way. I absolutely agree with you. And so I think, some of the critical success factors that we feel, and we write about in the book as well, that to get access is, 1, we have to have the right mindset. It starts with that, Do we believe we deserve to be in front of decision makers, And then, by the way, the confidence to know that we can be effective when we get there. Sometimes people are uncomfortable, because they're used to calling at a lower level where they're comfortable. And so do we have the confidence? And hopefully the book will lay out a process to helping us increase that confidence. Second, we need to know who, is a real decision maker, the person that can say yes or no and really mean it. They have the budget, the authority. And often we end up thinking the gatekeeper is the decision maker because they say, hey, look, I'm the one that makes decisions, but they're really blocking our access. So we have to identify the right one. We have to have done our research. We have to understand that decision maker and their department and their business. We have to have a compelling fit, We talk about in the book, solution fit versus business fit. We have to understand what are their objectives and strategies and issues as an individual decision maker, as well as the organization, and which of those can impact. We have to be able to articulate that. We have to have an access strategy, and we have to also have a strategy for dealing with gatekeepers. So all those things kind of have to come together. It starts with, do we believe we should be in front of senior level decision makers?
Is the conversation between those higher level decision makers, you talked about communication, is what they want to hear different from what a salesperson will tend to talk to a gatekeeper about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have a saying, lower level people and organizations tend to care more about our products and our solutions, and senior level decision makers care more about their business. And so we have to recognize that. And there's been a lot of research done out there that tells us what decision makers, right, really care about, and what they aren't getting as they work with salespeople, right? They expect salespeople to understand their business, understand their situation, and a lot of times salespeople don't, right? And they expect us to have done their homework, our homework before we meet with them, and often they don't get that, and so they absolutely expect something different. As a matter of fact, that expectation is growing more and more. That's what they're expecting of the salespeople. As a matter of fact, not even that, they're starting to expect us to be able to communicate to them what are the types of business results that we can help them achieve.
I imagine that you have some other books in the wings. Sales training has changed over the years. Can you tell us what you have planned for the future?
Yeah, well, first off, I think what you just said is that things have changed, right? Things challenge. There are different different set of challenges out there these days, and if I could just reflect on that just a bit, because I think that parlays into where we are and kind of where we're going. So we believe that the environment's tougher than ever before, right? There are changing customer behaviors, right? Smarter, more demanding customers are a lot more knowledgeable. And matter of fact, the corporate executive board did some research last couple of years that said that people are 69% through a typical buying process before a salesperson even engages. Yeah. And so you can bet they have perceptions of us before we ever get engaged. So we have to be more proactive. Procurement's changed, right? They're smarter, more sophisticated. They got more rules of engagement. So commoditization is easier for them and tougher for us. So we have to be driving business results and getting to real decision makers. There are more millennials out there than any other generation. Matter of fact, this year, research shows that 40% of decision makers are millennials, and they tend to be more collaborative. We have to understand how to sell to a millennial. COVID-19, I mean, think about the pandemic we're in right now, and the challenge that we have as sales professionals to do everything we used to do face-to-face. We now have to do that virtually. And so the environment has changed. We are the heart and soul of Beyond Selling Value in the book you'll be doing reviewing is totally relevant. We're proud of that work, but because the environment has changed, the process has changed a bit as well in the work that we're doing. And so we certainly are going to be looking to write our next book around Beyond Selling Value Next Gen, and there are some things in the process that have evolved as well. In that idea of next gen because of that environment.
And just some of the things that you mentioned, it seems like there's easier access to decision makers now. So we don't have as much interaction with gatekeepers, but we get more voicemail, or we get, there's no response at all. And we need to create a sense of urgency when we leave a voicemail. And when we get to a decision maker, they might be involving other people. Like you said, the millennials end up involving a little bit more people coming to a decision. So they do it more internally than externally. And it seems like the decision process has changed a little bit about that. I mean, you mentioned the CEB and the authors of the Challenger Sale. And we've kind of seen some of the things on the Challenger Sale, so how the market has changed. And I imagine that your next book is going to be talking more about the relevance of the marketplace. I mentioned some of the things that you just recognize as how the decisions are being changed in companies.
Yes, absolutely. Matter of fact, we'd probably say that it's even tougher these days to get to true decision makers. There was Ball State University did some research, and they said that 77% of decision makers accept less than 20% of requests by salespeople. And that's often because a lot of times salespeople aren't prepared. They haven't done their homework ahead of time. They don't understand their industry, and they're using an access approach that might be dated. So as we think about how that process has evolved, and we think about our next book, if you will, and where we're going with clients, one, selection or discernment is more important than ever before. In chapter 12, we'll talk about the assessment piece of the process, but now we sort of bring that out as even that much more important, that we're working the right opportunities and ones that we think we really can win. Social selling, that is something that is more and more important, developing relationships digitally. So that's a piece of next gen. Data sources are different. You're going to get to the data chapter. Well, today, there's social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Are we following our prospects and customers on LinkedIn? Are we going to YouTube to find interviews? Are we following our customers or prospects on Twitter? More and broader research, monetizing our business fit. I talked earlier, about the idea of executives, decision makers today are really looking for business results through our solutions. Well, do we have the capability to monetize our business fit? Mm-hmm. And so that takes on another level of sophistication for us as sales professionals. Are we smarter and have some strategy to deal with procurement? And then I just wanted to mention too, I think as your readers go through the book, over the years, what we've found is we can really scale that process. So as you read the book, please don't think this is just my largest accounts or most sophisticated opportunities. We can take that process, all the process some of the time, some of the process all the time. So we can scale it all into one call, or we can scale it over a long, more complex sales cycle. And by the way, also, we absolutely can use that process in selling virtually. So we ought to be doing research meetings, using web meetings, getting someone on the camera, right? Not thinking that we have to pitch or sell, but rather gain better insight and perspective. And then, of course, use web meetings for our powerful presentations, which we'll talk about in the book, both business and solution fit type presentations, and do those over the web and be compelling that way.
Dan, it seems that a lot of salespeople are almost using the pandemic as an excuse to quit doing face-to-face. And I don't mean face-to-face in person, but even over the web, and trying to live their life just with email. What's your thoughts on that and the relationships we're trying to build and the competencies we're trying to exhibit? Does it work just as well just doing emails back and forth, or are we missing something?
I think it's a great point that you bring up. I think, number one, perhaps some people out there think that we're going to get back to our normal again. And what I'm hearing from our clients is that there's going to be a new normal, and we're going to be in this mode for a long time. It could be 2022 until we're getting on a regular basis, face-to-face with prospects and clients. So if we're waiting to get back to normal, number one, that's a challenge, because it's not going to be, and we have to accept that and do things differently. And I believe, if our comfort zone is, okay, I'm just going to email and try to, get some things going that way or manage my customers that way, it's not enough, right? If we're waiting for that, our competition, who maybe is going to think more strategically of how they can, sell and manage accounts virtually, they're going to be way out ahead of us, and we're going to lose share. So we have to take a proactive stance, change our mindset that, hey, look, let's just presume this can be here for a while, and let me get back to selling and managing accounts in a strategic way, but I'm going to do it via the web. And so, again, as we think about the book Beyond Selling Value, that's research meeting. We can do the whole process over the web. We can get data virtually, which you always could. We can set up and conduct research meetings virtually, Maybe beforehand mention that I'm going to have my camera on just to try to make it as real and face-to-face as we'd love to be meeting with you face-to-face. And I'd love to have you turn yours on as well if you're comfortable. And having that face-to-face through the camera is the next best thing, right? And matter of fact, we're getting into people's homes, as we do that. And that gives us even a better chance to really connect with people.
It may be the only best thing, as you say, for a while.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. We
got to quit looking at it as I guess I'll do this for now. Is that what you're saying? Think of it as this is how we're going to do business.
Yeah, exactly. No, we have to have a new normal in the way we conduct business, how we sell and manage accounts. And it's one of the things, just as we think about this notion of virtual selling, we believe that professionals, what we see is sales professionals have gotten away from presenting, period, and I think the reason why is that customers have seen so many bad show up and throw up type presentations that they don't like salespeople presenting, and we've gotten that feedback, and so we don't like to present. So we sort of have discussions, we chat, And yet, as we'll talk about in the book, we believe that there's real power in a presentation, even if we're doing it virtually. The University of Minnesota came out with some research and said that we're 43% more likely to persuade someone if we message through a presentation. Now, we can use that presentation to facilitate our discussion, but we're going to be much more impactful. And today, we got to do that virtually, We got to do that over the web. So as your readers read the book, just think about using that process, not in a traditional way, but absolutely all virtually.
What comes to mind for you if I use the word pitch?
What comes to mind to me is what not to do, Because pitch, what I think about is someone presenting their company, themselves, their products, their solutions, without the context of the customer situation.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, even if a salesperson has done some research, and even if it was just at a need level, and beyond selling value, we talk about we got to get beyond needs, right? We got to understand the customer's business at company level, departmental level, their POSI, as we call it, their profile, objective, strategies, and issues, right? At an individual level, the org structure, right, et cetera. So even if we've done some of that, if we aren't reflecting on that when we present, it's going to come across as a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we talk about as best practice is a framework called TUFA, them, us, fit, action. And we'll talk about that in the book. Let's first reflect on our understanding of your situation, right? More broadly, as well as what you need. Is that right? Do we have a fair understanding? Right? Often we hear, wow, thank you. I really appreciate that. Right? You taking the time to confirm that and have done your homework. And now I go to my presentation on me, my company, my products or solutions. And now I'm doing it in context of them, right? Then the fit, then action. Now it doesn't come across as that pitch. And we have a great opportunity to differentiate ourselves by not doing the pitch. And so I think, and doing that virtually these days.
Yeah, I am asked, because I do both communication training and sales training, I'm asked to look at the company pitches quite often of organizations through their PowerPoints. And on almost every slide, I write, who cares? Because it focuses just on what you're talking about. This is what you want me to know, but it's not necessarily in terms of what I need. And I think that you're right. That's the problem with any kind of a pitch. It's one-sided. Let me tell you, I call it chest pounding. Let me tell you how great we are, and therefore you should buy from us because of our greatness. And most people are just turned off by that.
Absolutely, for sure. And it's a great opportunity for us to take some control and differentiate ourselves is in that piece of our selling and our account management.
When you talk about, now we have the research, and then what was your next step on that?
So after research then is communication, which is all about gaining access to real decision makers, and then also dealing with gatekeepers, right, that are trying to block us. And so that's the second core part of the book before we move into presentation. So
as part of the research, then what I would call the discovery session. So it's some research before, and then also a discovery session with questions to clarify or confirm.
Exactly. Okay. So we talk about the data research, which we might do before we conduct our sales call that we call the research meeting, or that discovery meeting where we are focused on the 95-5 rule, asking great questions, confirming some things that we've learned, getting additional perspective. Okay.
We've just finished the Challenger sale, and one of the things I thought they were doing, and this isn't a bump, and I've talked about it, but they tended to spend a lot of time, we're going to imagine what you need, before they had the discovery. And I just thought they were getting the cart before the horse a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, there's maybe a presumption a little bit of also that we know how to do that research, and we're just going to have it. And beyond selling value, there'll be the tactics of not only getting the data research, but how do we do that research or discovery call that you just talked about in a really professional way, getting at that broader understanding so that we're in a better position to challenge, right? I think if we haven't done our research and we challenge the ideas of somebody, we're presuming we know, and we might not. And so that's the benefit of using the them, us, fit, action framework that we talk about is here's what we understand. Is that right? Now I'm in a better position to share some ideas that maybe they haven't thought of yet, right? To challenge their thinking. It's a more customer-centric, humble, authentic approach.
Well, Dan, we really appreciate you taking the time with us today. Any final thoughts?
Just one, again, thank you. And thanks to the readers for going through the book. I'm excited about the fact that you'll be doing that. And I look forward to myself or Mark maybe joining you at the end of your podcast series.
That'd be great. Yeah.
That'd be exciting.
And feel free. Certainly your readers can look at our website, impactscorp.com. And we certainly offer tips of the month. There's digital training available there around the process, public open workshops. Recently did a webinar series on selling virtually. So there's some resources there that your readers can get at as well.
And we'll have that all linked on our getinthedoorpodcast.com page.
Yeah,
great.
So for our listeners, Dan and Mark have been kind enough to give us 14 books to give away, both Beyond Selling Value and Breaking the Rules, 111 tips for selling value in the era of procurement. So we're very thankful for that. What we'll be doing as we give those away, we'll be giving away one a week as we go through the book. And all you have to do is either send us a comment, a question, or even just send us your name and address to be in that drawing that we do each week. And you can go to getinthedoorpodcast.com and connect with either Scott or myself, Bill, and just put your name in the hat, and we'll start picking from those next week.
Yeah, that's great. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Dan, for joining us.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good selling, good managing accounts, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Amen. This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by your hosts of Get in the Door podcast. Business is heating up, and now is the time to get back on the selling track. While others wait for the market to improve, prospects and opportunities await you now. Perhaps you want to be more productive on your prospecting, or you'd like to increase your closing percentage. Maybe having meetings online is not as comfortable as being in person. Sales reps are telling us they need some honest accountability and skill development to rise above the competition. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why the host of Get in the Door podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. For only $495, you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us your insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. After your 1-hour online session to jumpstart your coaching process, you will receive 5 more half-hour individual coaching sessions to enable you to make improvements over time and create new habits. Most salespeople make their money back with just one sale. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself and invest in your future. So our golden nugget and close for today is a quote: "Failure will not overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough," by Og Mandino. Some of you will recognize that name.
Oh man, he is one of the kings. Og Mandino is one of the kings of the sales books, and I think that quote is from the greatest salesman in the world.
It is.
And do you know, is that scroll 1?
I can't remember what scroll it is.
Find it. Yeah. So I grabbed my copy with all my notes in it from 30 years ago when I started doing this, and it really reminded me I need to sit down and read through those scrolls again. He really did a plan. Did he do it for a week or a month?
There's 10 scrolls, so I can't remember.
I think it was a month.
A month. He, practiced one scroll for the whole month.
Yeah. And get it in your subconscious. So,
right.
I mean, I would imagine for anyone who's read that book and done the monthly readings of the scrolls, they will find themselves knowing this almost by heart when they hear each one of these lines. As soon as I read "Failure will not overtake me," I knew where this was from. And I think what's really key with this, Scott, and what Mandino is trying to do in this is you've got to train your mind. You've got to believe. And Dan even said that early in the interview. The first most important point is that you've got to believe you deserve to talk to the upper level decision makers. You've got to believe that your product is good. You've got to believe in yourself and your capabilities. And Og Mandino will help you do that.
Yeah. If we don't buy it, we can't sell it.
That's
As
right.
salespeople, we have to really buy it. Otherwise, we can't sell it.
Well, go to getinthedoorpodcast.com for all of the information, for Dan's contact information, to sign up for the drawing for the books. Just everything's there. All kinds of information you can pick up at getinthedoorpodcast.com.
Our next week, we're going to cover the topic, take advantage of Cialdini's 6 Principles of Influence and Beyond Selling Value, Chapter 2, Bare Bones and Brass Tacks.
Go out and get better one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.